Good evening, everybody. This is Oceanus, and, oh goodness, if you woke up to the news this morning, Joe Kent, our director of Counterterrorism, seemingly has resigned today. And this is his resignation letter. I'm going to read it. President Trump, after much reflection, I have decided to resign from my position as director of National Counterterrorism Center effective today. I cannot in good conscience support this ongoing war in Iran. Iran poses no imminent threat to our nation, and it is clear that we started this war due to pressure from Israel and its powerful American lobby. I support the values and the foreign policies that you campaigned on in 2016, 2020, 2024, which you enacted in your first term. Until June 2025, you understood that the wars in the Middle East were a trap that robbed America of the precious lives of our patriots and depleted the wealth and prosperity of our nation. In your first administration, you understood better than any modern president how to decisively apply military power without getting us drawn into never-ending wars. You demonstrated this by killing Qasem Soleimani and by defeating ISIS. Early in this administration, high-ranking Israeli officials and influential members of the American media deployed a misinformation campaign and wholly undermined your America First platform and sowed pro-war sentiments to encourage a war with Iran. The second chamber was used to deceive you into believing that Iran posed an imminent threat to the United States, and that should you strike now, there is a clear path to a swift victory. This was a lie, and is the same tactic the Israelis have used to draw us into the disastrous direct war that cost our nation the lives of thousands of our best men and women. We cannot make this mistake again. As a veteran who deployed to combat 11 times and as a Gold Star husband who lost my beloved wife Shannon in war manufactured by Israel, I cannot support sending the next generation off to fight and die in a war that serves no benefit to the American people nor justifies the cost of American lives. I pray that you will reflect upon what we are doing in Iran and who we are doing it for. The time for bold action is now. You can reverse course and chart a new path for our nation, or you can allow it to slip further into the decline and chaos. You hold the cards. It was an honor to serve you in your administration and to serve our great nation. Joseph Kent, Director of National Counterterrorism Center. Now, this is interesting to me, because this is the Director of Counterterrorism, who is supposed to be the authority on terror threats to America, coming out and saying outright that there was no imminent threat that Iran posed to the United States. That's really odd to me, especially when you have members of the administration saying the opposite. Over here on Carolyn Levitt, the press secretary. This is her responding to to Kent's letter. And she states that there are many false claims in the letter, but let me address the one specifically, that Iran posed no imminent threat to our nation. Same false claim, okay. As President Trump has clearly and explicitly stated, he had strong, compelling evidence that Iran was going to attack the United States first. The evidence was compiled from many sources and factors. President Trump would never make the decision to deploy military assets against a foreign adversary in a vacuum. Iran is the world's leading state sponsor of terrorism. Okay, now let me stop right there. I'm not going to deny that Iran is some sort of... there's two sides to this, which I don't subscribe to. One is the side that Israel is entirely innocent, which I don't subscribe to. The other side is that Iran is entirely innocent, which I also don't subscribe to. Yes, Iran has had terrorist ties in the past and now. But what I'm not understanding here is how in the world can there be this big of a disconnect between the director of counterterrorism, what he's saying, and what Carolyn Levitt is saying? Isn't it his job to figure out these terrorist threats to us and to say what is an imminent threat to the nation or not? So either Mr. Kent is lying, which I don't think he is, because he's actually... I've followed him for years. He does seem pretty solid. Or something weird is going on with the intelligence community and the Director of National Intelligence's office, which Kent works under. and the rest of the administration. Because how can you tell me that your own director of counterterrorism is saying that Iran is on an imminent threat, but you're saying that the other evidence says that they are? Where did you get this other evidence from? Who is providing you this intelligence? Is it the CIA? Is it Israel itself? Why is this going over the head of the Director of National Intelligence and the Director of Counterterrorism? Because the arguments that I've seen against Joe Kent so far is that he doesn't know what the heck he's talking about. Which is weird, because if he didn't know what the heck he was talking about, why would he be in the position that he's in? Why put him there in the first place? So are we not giving Director Kent the intelligence that he has to use to make a determination on what is and is not an imminent threat? Is that what's going on here? Because if so, that's stupid. But you can't tell me that he doesn't know what he's talking about. Because it's his job to know what he's talking about in this situation. And if he doesn't know what he's talking about, there's a big problem for our counterterrorism center now, isn't it? But anyway, let's continue. The Iranian regime is evil. It proudly killed Americans, waged war against our country, and openly threatened to stall a web to launch Operation Epic Fury. I'm not going to lie. The Iranians have not done themselves any favors by their rhetoric. They did not do themselves any favors by taking our embassy staff hostage in 1979. That's where this whole thing stems from. I think that was a big mistake on the part of the regime. They didn't realize how long Americans can hold grudges for, and believe me, we can hold them for a very long time, as long as it takes. And they're finding that out right now. Because how many has it been since 1979? Over 50 years, at least. And then we're just now laying the hammer down on them for it. They miscalculated heavily. They thought we'd just forget about it. Well, no, we didn't forget about it, and they're feeling it right now. Now, the problem with that is, there are many Americans, I would say more than many Americans, like me, who were born at the turn of the century, who have no connection to what happened in 1979, who don't really, not that we don't care, but it didn't really affect us. And what was going on now, and what I think is a big disconnect between the administration and people like me, currently at least, is that we're going into Iran, but it's not being sold correctly. Like, you're telling us, okay, Iran is evil, it killed American citizens. Okay, but it's like, we haven't been adequately, this is rhetoric here. Like, yes, I'm sure they have. I'm sure they've killed Americans. But this is all technical stuff that the average person, a voter at the younger age, like myself, who's like, okay, well, yeah, that's bad, but at the same time, what about the domestic issues? Inflation is increasing, unfortunately. Actually, no, it's decreasing. It's at a very weird point in time right now where it's decreasing, but people don't really feel the effects of it. AI has become a big issue in the economy. There are white-collar workers who feel, and already have been, replaced by artificial intelligence. There's a housing crisis where the cost of housing has skyrocketed. That makes it impossible for anybody living on a average salary in America these days to get a house, turning us into a nation of renters. Like, these are the issues that need to be addressed in our minds. That need to be addressed first before we do any of this Iran stuff, because the way it's been sold, this Iran kerfuffle, is that it's not really a threat to us, more so as it is a threat to the Israelis. And I think that's the main criticism here that Director Kent has articulated in his resignation letter. Like, as far as I'm concerned, Israel is a very powerful country. They have a very decent military force. They they themselves went 1-on-5 during the Arab-Israeli War back in the 60s when they were just starting out, military-wise, I mean. And they won. And they do pretty well already without our help. Just look at what happened with the whole Hamas and Hezbollah kerfuffle back in, that started in 2023. It looked as if they were having a really difficult time. But after Netanyahu got rid of Gallant and took out the pagers of Hezbollah and got rid of Sinwar in Hamas, everything went smoothly. So why do we, as Americans, need to do this when Israel has the more than enough capability itself to do it themselves? And not only that, but they also have the Gulf states that they can rely upon to keep Iran in check. Saudi Arabia, Jordan, Iraq, Dubai, all those places are in our pocket now. In Israel's pocket as well. That's why Iran's bombing the heck out of them right now. Because they're not on their side. They have formed a shield, an anti-Iranian shield in the Middle East. So again, I don't understand why they need us to do this for them. And I think that's what makes so many people, especially on the younger side, a bit hesitant to support this. And it's like, here's the whole nuclear weapons thing. I thought we got rid of that nuclear weapon potential back in June. I thought that was the entire reason for Operation Midnight Hammer in the first place. To just take out their bunkers, take out their nuclear facilities, and get out. Did that not work? Does Iran just have this, like, infinite nuclear energy cheat code they're using? I would love to see what's actually happening here. Because either Operation Midnight Hammer was a failure, or there's something else at play here. Or we're just getting rid of the regime in Iran just because we can. So President Trump ultimately made the determination that the joint attack with Israel would greatly reduce the risk to American lives and would come from a first strike by the terrorist Iranian regime and address the imminent threat to America's national security interests. Now, honestly, okay, this is actually interesting. A first strike. A first strike with what? Nuclear weapons, or first strike as in they're going to attack conventionally on our bases in the region? I mean, that's possible. That's very possible when you think about what happened in June. Honestly, the Iranians would have been stupid not to strike first, because as you see right now, they didn't strike first. We struck first, and as a result, we took out their top leadership. So now they're probably wishing they did. And then here's the other thing. And finally, the absurd allegation that President Trump made this decision based on the influence of others, even foreign countries, is both insulting and laughable. President Trump has been remarkably consistent and has said for decades that Iran can never possess a nuclear weapon. That is true. He has said that for decades. He has said that for decades, and which is why I'm not saying this. I'm not trying to be an anti-Trump person in this video. That's not what I'm intending to do. He has been saying this for decades. He has said consistently in the 80s that we ought to just gone out and taken Iran's nuclear capabilities out. But I think that was before the war on terror initiated by George Bush in 2001. Because the problem that we're having now is that we've been in the Middle East for over almost 30 years now. We went into the Middle East militarily when I was 2 years old, mind you. I'm 26 now. That's a long time. Longer than Vietnam, which was considered one of our worst ever wars and longest wars in history. I mean, yes, we got out of Afghanistan in 2021, but we're still in the Gulf area. We're still in Iraq. We're still in Jordan. We're still in Syria. And while Trump has been consistent on Iran not having a nuclear weapon, I think Americans are just tired of being in this godforsaken desert for as long as we've been. This is something that should have been done, if we were to do it, when the war on terror was launched. George Bush had all the political capital in the world to do this, but he didn't. He didn't do it. He went after Afghanistan and Iraq instead. And now here we are. Like this is, we're operating on a foreign policy that has been overcooked. And I don't think it's being received well by the electorate at large. I could be wrong. But I don't know, like, because here's the thing. While he has run on this, he has also run on not being in the Middle East, not being in forever wars in the Middle East. All 3 times he's run. And now for us to get into Iran right now, after being in the Middle East for almost 30 years, is a bit of a slap in the face to those of us who are like, okay, let's get out of that. Now again, I'm not making this video because I'm some sort of anti-Trump libtard or whatever. I still think that, despite all of this, that Donald Trump is the best option for America at the current time. But I'm just confused as to how he can't really see the argument here. Or at least the argument that the electorate's making, that even if Iran is a dangerous enemy, and even if they're freaking bad guys, which they probably are, why is it our problem? It just, like, okay, I get you want your foreign policy wins, and he did very good in Venezuela. That impressed me. I thought it was going to be a lot messier. And maybe he's going to do good in Cuba, because apparently those guys are going down too. Or at least I hope at least if they are to go down, I hope they go down quickly, because I live in Florida, and I would not want Cuban drones and missiles coming after me. Because I think we are in the range of that. They're only 90 miles away. But yes, I think Donald Trump has had numerous foreign policy wins that he's riding the high off of right now. But Iran is not Iraq, and Iran is not Afghanistan. Iran is a gigantic country with a nearly 700,000 strong military, with mountainous terrain that makes land operations near impossible. What I'm hoping happens is that we do enough damage to them, because it's already done. Even if you're against the war right now, which I am technically, but since we're here now, we have to look at the hopefuls and the potential outcomes here. What I'm hoping for, now that we're in the war, is that we do enough damage to them that we call it off maybe in like a couple weeks or so. Pull all of our people out of the region, because that's the only way we will be able to get them out of Iranian missile range. Back to the homeland. And maybe use that whole NATO's not helping us as an excuse to exit NATO finally. Because those guys need to be humbled too. But that's my hopium here. I don't know if that's the actual plan. There might not be a plan for the post-war Iran situation. But anyways, what do you think? Are you pro-intervention in Iran? Are you anti-intervention in Iran? Like, please let me know in the comment section. I'm not gonna antagonize people if you disagree with me on this issue, because I see the merits and the detractions of doing this, but I personally still am against it. Like, no matter how hard people try to sugarcoat it, I've been consistently against doing something like this for years and years and years. But anyways, if you like this video, please please subscribe, leave a comment on what you think, and if you want to check out my Substack too, I write articles on random topics there that you'd probably find interesting. And thank you very much for watching. Have a good night, guys.